This episode is brought to you by Spas and More.
I just believe in the power of healing and restoration. And I know that if we can just come together and speak about the hard things, we can finally begin to heal. So, this is where we heal.
I'm so glad to have you on today. I am so inspired by your story. I think life is really hard for anyone, but seeing people like you who have been through something that you literally had to crawl your way out of, literally, is so unbelievably inspiring. And I think stories like yours need to be heard all over the world to just give people hope and to give them some grit and some resilience and to show them that, you don't have to just let life happen, that you can fight for your life again. So
Yeah.
obviously, thank you for being on This Is Where We Heal today, because your story of healing, I think, is going to help a lot of people. And it's not just outer healing, it's inner healing too. I know a lot about your story that we've talked about a little bit in the past, and I just want people to hear it all. So thank you for being here today.
Well, thanks for inviting me. Sometimes I'm just plugging away at things at home and behind closed doors and stuff, so it's nice when it actually matters to someone else.
Yeah. Well, and isn't that the funny thing about life is that when it's our own story, we think those little tiny things we do every day that we get bored with, that are monotonous, that are just like, I'm just doing it because I have to do it, are just whatever, part of everyday life. But for someone on the outside looking in at your whole timeline and your whole story, it is literally the hero's journey, you know?
I see it in other people. It's always a little bit harder to see it in myself because I'm like, oh, I did this today and I did that today. And, you don't always see the progress when you're living it day to day. And
Yeah.
sometimes for me, like sharing videos is like helpful because
Hmm.
otherwise, like, I get negative feedback sometimes, like if I'm doing something, people are like, well, you're working out wrong or you're doing this wrong and all these other things. So if I don't share like before and after things, it's not always for like any type of attention. It's just to like calm down like the bad feedback. So there's, more context and understanding and things like that. So it's hard navigating stuff because you can't expect people to know without an explanation. And
It's really hard for me to believe that there are people that would give you a hard time on any of it. People can be so strange, but we're not going to take away from the fact that your content is incredibly inspiring. And I hope that when you look back at it, you can see that story there. That's really, really rich in the healing journey and overcoming. It really is. So I want you to tell people who you are and what happened. And obviously, you have a story long before your incident, but people to understand where this journey that you started documenting and putting online started.
okay. Well, my name is Sherown Campbell. I live here in Colorado, just a little outside of Denver, and I feel like a lot of people have been interested in the story, uh, kind of after I started sharing a lot to social media, and that happened following a kind of freak injury that I had. I was wrestling with a friend. He had me in a leg lock and just trying to be a tough guy, was avoiding tapping out, and unfortunately, my neck broke. It caused a spinal cord injury at C4, C5. So I was struggling to breathe, lost function of arms, legs, paralysis from pretty much shoulders down, and rushed to the hospital. Went through about 4 months of inpatient therapy before going home. And then when I was at home, I had just started using social media kind of again, and Instagram was cool to me because you could use hashtags and it put everything kind of in a folder so I could find other people with paralysis or that were quadriplegics. And I mean, started trying to build and find like my own community. Like I was at home doing a lot of therapy by myself, kind of feeling alone and, in a darker area. And I was like, there has to be other people dealing with this and going through it. And so I was using social media to kind of find connection with those people and started posting my own stuff. So hopefully other people could find me, and it became routine and habit. And so here I am 11 years later, still kind of doing the same thing.
Well, you make it sound so simple. There's so much more than that, though. What's really cool is that So how I found you was I was on TikTok and I always look for inspirational things. And of course, I can't relate to your story specifically with the physical portion of it, but I can relate to the fact that it's a mental game to get back up on your feet. To and that's, whether it's from an injury or just life in general, but what I think is really cool about you is that you had an injury that completely changed your entire life. Like
Hmm.
you were you had no choice from that point on but to either give it everything you have or just accept the fact that this is who you are now. And you didn't make that choice. You didn't just accept it. You got back up. I want to know how you found the courage to do that and what inspired you to just not give in to it.
It it definitely took some time. I can't say, I went into it and it happened and I was just pushing against everything that people were saying and um it took some acceptance. I realized I was kind of screwed. Usually I try not to cuss, but for lack of a better explanation, I was like I'm like th this is life now. Paralyzed, can't move, struggling breathing, talking. Job is gone. The house I was living in was kind of a tri-level home, so entrance into my home was not going to be possible with a power chair. Raising my kids, I couldn't, was trying to think through how I could hug them, hold them. I was married at the time, so thinking about intimacy and, how I could be a husband to a wife, there was just tons of thoughts. Like it impacted, my relationship, my children, my friendship, my job, my home, pretty much everything. So I started breaking those down and trying to think about, okay, well, what can I do in this position? Communication became really a big thing 'cause you can't physically show people stuff. You can't show up for people the way that you used to. So just talking, being there, presence became a really big thing where, I can't help a friend move, but I can be there for a friend. I
Oh.
can listen, like I can do these other little things with my kids. I can't go out and throw and kick the ball, but again, I can presently be there for them. I can talk to them. I can tell them I love them. They know I'm always there. Um, I felt sidelined a little bit, but I found different ways to do it. And um, I think at first it started with those relationships in home, kids. Sadly, my marriage ended, so pretty shortly after, so I had to navigate that, and then that became a whole different thing down the line, like going back to dating and fulfilling that self-worth and what can I offer to people and
Yeah.
but a big part of it was just living independently. Like how can I take care of myself to lighten the load on my family members and kind of lighten what I felt like was, a burden at that point in time. And that was feeding myself, dressing myself, a lot of the physical stuff, but also maintaining uh, myself emotionally because if I'm breaking down and falling apart, it's just going to be harder on my family.
Mhm.
Um, my mother had lost her daughter, and we had lost my sister to suicide probably like 5 to 6 months before my injury. And so I saw the damage of what losing a loved one was like for our family, and I didn't want to contribute to that. And I knew like me being strong mentally and emotionally, like was really what my family needed. So if they saw me struggling, it would have just made it so much worse.
Oh my gosh. I'm almost like speechless in a way because the way that you framed that was so sacrificial in a lot of ways. Like you made that choice based on how can I still be there for everyone else. Um and that's
Yeah,
really
and
beautiful.
yeah, it's kind of hard because that was my personality before the injury. So just because I got injured didn't mean like I immediately changed and I expected people to do stuff for me. Like I was always the person that like I liked being there for other people. I don't really like a lot of attention on myself.
Mm.
And so just because you're injured or paralyzed and you need the attention and help yourself doesn't mean that that changes your feelings or your emotions. So
Oof.
it took a little while to adjust and start advocating for myself, start kind of taking things for myself because I had to make peace with I needed it. So it wasn't me whining, it wasn't me complaining, like there were some things that I actually needed.
Wow. Like, I can't even imagine the shift of that, of being that person that's always like, a lot of your life is showing up for everyone else. And then having to have that mental shift of, I can't physically be who I was anymore. Even if I want to, even if that part of me is still there, I now have to reframe my entire mindset and identity to still believe I can be that person that shows up, but it has to look completely different or it gets to look completely different. Right. Like I'm
Yeah.
sure that was like a huge mental battle for you.
Yeah, I
And
used to tell people it was the hardest thing was just learning to accept help. Like I didn't like that, and it took a really long time to accept it.
yeah, like I think for men in general, like the masculine part of you is like you want to be the protector, the provider, the one that does all the things and shows up for everyone. You don't want people helping you or feeling bad for you or having sympathy for you. It's like the worst feeling in the world. And so
Yeah,
when you're in this position where you're like, okay, like whether I like to get help from other people, now I had to lean into a season where I'm willing to accept that I not only need it, but I actually deserve it too, and I
yeah,
can still show up in the ways that I can show up, right?
yeah. It was tough because learning to accept that help. I remember one time specifically, I was in the hospital bed, and I don't like being one that complains or whines or does all this other stuff. And like you said, it's probably one of those masculine things that I should try to work on because there just are times where we do need help and we do need to reach
Yeah.
out. And I hadn't worked through that phase in my life yet. And I believe a nurse left the room and she had changed the channel, just turned on the TV, didn't even look for it. And I don't speak Spanish, but it was on Telemundo, and my water wasn't near me and all this other stuff. And I laid there for like an hour and 15 minutes just out of stubbornness, like not asking anyone to change the channel, not getting water. And I'm like, why am I doing this just because I don't want to be an inconvenience to a nurse where it is her job and it's not bothering her and she's not upset about it. It was definitely my doing. Like I wasn't making anyone upset. No one was saying it's a problem or a burden, but it
Right.
was like my internal battle. And I sat there and watched Spanish TV for an hour and 15 minutes before someone came in just out of me learning to work through stuff.
That is hilarious. I mean, it's such a normal struggle though. Like, you know
Yeah.
what? I refuse to ask for help. I'll suffer first. I will suffer before I will ever ask for help. And it's like, at what point in life do we get this belief that needing help is a problem? Needing help is a
Yeah.
burden, right? Especially when most people are kind of like us, where it's like if they know you need help, they're happy to, right? They're happy to
Yeah.
do it. And but it stems from this unworthiness from us of like, maybe I don't deserve it. Maybe I
Yeah.
should I maybe I always have to be the strong one, right? The one that's giving all the time. And that's not fair either. And that's kind of a life lesson for us to get to a place in life where we go, okay, I actually can give and receive. And both of those things
Yeah.
are healthy, right?
And it's so much easier said than done. And I think sometimes we work through those things when we have some type of experiences in life. But for me, since it was such a sudden shift and change, it was it was a lot to work through. And I mean, unfortunately, you're in a hospital bed paralyzed, so everything is mental at that point. Like you have no choice but to think about these things
Oh,
every day. So it's an accelerated process. You're either going to work through it or you're going to really struggle with it.
man, that I can't imagine. I genuinely can't imagine that you are so strong. Like so mentally strong. It is incredible. I want to talk too about like the physical aspect, like the journey that you had to go through with that to get where you are right now. Because based on your injury, should you have ever been able to get on your feet again? Like,
Um, no, and I realize doctors they don't want to give like false hopes, so there wasn't a lot of talk about recovery, nothing about walking again. After 4 months of inpatient therapy, my goals at home were to start feeding myself 50% of my meals, to try
wow.
to contribute to my daily living, and then also to start working on how to assist myself getting dressed. So I was fully dependent on feeding, bathroom, dressing, even using a cell phone or a tablet at that point in time was a struggle. Like that was physical therapy for me, was just using an iPad. And I had this little wrist device and a stylus that I could kind of just touch and poke at and
Hmm.
start working through things. So that was about 4 to 5 months out. Then I started an intensive therapy program inpatient for about another 6 months, 5 days a week for a couple of hours.
Mhm.
And that's where I started getting some progression where things would fire or I would have like a toe twitch, was getting
Mm.
some more hand movement. And that's when like hope actually started. And once you start getting to that point, then it's a lot easier. Frustrating still nonetheless, because like I'd get a toe twitch and I'm like, toe twitch isn't going to get me out the door.
Right.
Um, I'd get some hand movement back, but I was like, okay, well, that's not getting me standing or moving around or in and out of a vehicle. Uh, pro Getting close to about a year into it, I remember I was able to use a walker, got myself to the bathroom, and I was excited about that. And I didn't have arm function to pull up my pants. So I was like, it was excitement immediately followed by, I still need help and I still need someone to come do very private things. And I'm still relying on people. And I mean, year after year, just these little building blocks. And it was probably about 2 to 3 years before I was like actually independent enough where I could just be at home by myself through the day or get the kids lunch and feed them food and like watch my kids by myself. And
Wow. But isn't that crazy to think about? Like when you look back at where you started to where you are now, like obviously in the moment, the days feel really, really long, right? The days feel
yeah,
really difficult and hard. And like you feel like you probably didn't really feel like you were really making progress, right? But when you look back at it as a whole, to see where you were to where you got now, do you not? I mean, is that not like something that just blows your mind in a way?
it is crazy to look back and think about now. I had ran track through high school and college, which was really good for me because track is one of those sports where you are competing all season for a very minimal amount of progress. Like, it's a big deal if you run track and you notice times and differences, but really, like you don't notice the changes day to day or week to week in your training going through these ups and downs. So you can hopefully hit a PR 6 months from now.
Right.
And so having kind of that discipline and mindset, that's probably what had me geared a little bit differently to do therapy day in and day out without any type of expectation of like seeing a change today. Like I know it's going to be 4 months. I know it's going to be 5 months. Like any changes that I make today, I have no expectation of seeing the results of that until, half a year from now or a year later. And that's really tough for a lot of people. I think we always want that instant gratification and some of us have learned the hard way how to deal with it and get that delayed gratification or kind of stay in a process or a routine.
Mhm.
Um, but it's still hard nonetheless.
I think that's what builds resilience though is the the patience that it requires to know that the end is in sight, but know that you don't just get to snap your fingers to get there. You have to put in the work each and every single day, every moment of your life, and trust that as you continue, you will get there. So it's like this combination of realism and hope at the same time that you have to kind of keep together. You can't lose the hope, but you also can't
Yeah.
lose the reality that it does require everything you have right now. And it may take 4 months, 6 months, 2 years, 4 years, right? But getting in that mindset of every time I'm chipping away at this, I am getting closer.
Yeah. And that's it exactly. It's like a realistic hope.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people are hopeful and they're projecting, I'm just gonna walk out of here and it's not gonna beat me and I'm gonna do this and that. And it's good to think that way sometimes, but then when you're not getting it, it can also be very defeating.
Yeah.
So there's a portion where you have to be realistic and have acceptance, like this is where I'm at now, and I'm gonna work as hard as I can and I'm gonna do my best in hopes that I'm doing the right thing and it takes me somewhere further. And it it's tough, but
I know it
but
is.
thankfully it's worked out.
I feel like you have had to have inspired so many people that have been through what you've been through though. Do you get messages from people like on your Instagram and your TikTok about your story that have kind of been where you are or where you used to be?
Every once in a while I do, and I mean that's kind of why I throw so much out there is I know there's other people going through it and I have gotten that feedback. So even if it's a few people, giving that feedback, it's worth it, and that's the purpose of it. I also know that there's probably quite a few people that were stubborn and hard-headed like myself that don't say anything and are
Yeah.
working through that process, and at least to see someone and know that it's possible, or see someone that has had this injury and what life looks like for them 10 years from their injury date, I think is really important, because when I was injured, everyone else in the hospital is injured just like me, and we are
Mhm.
all trying to figure out how can we just get home? What is
Oof.
work going to look like? I mean, people are blowing their life savings, their finances, shifting insurance, moving family members, looking for recovery hospitals anywhere in the US. I mean, it's a devastating thing for the person and their family. So, um, you don't have the opportunity to really see what life is going to be like in 10 years.
Yeah.
You don't have that chance to talk to someone that has lost a relationship and started dating again. You haven't had the chance to talk to people that raised kids from, 5 into their teen years and stuff like that with a disability. So I
Mhm.
started looking for people like that, and then I try to put myself out there to hopefully be that person if someone needs it.
Yeah, and that's the whole point, right? To lead the
Hmm.
way for the people that are just a few steps behind you that maybe are kind of in that place of losing a little bit of the hope. But that's what I feel too for my own thing is just I may only be a few steps ahead of certain people, but I'm still learning too. And as I go, I just hope that I can help somebody keep going too, whatever that looks
Yeah,
like. Um,
yeah,
so you were married when your incident occurred and you went through a divorce as well, but you did start
yes.
dating again and you have a partner now.
Correct. I have a fiance now, so I've gone
Oh,
through.
fiance. Oh, that's
Yeah,
exciting. Congratulations.
thanks. I've gone through the ups and downs of marriage, tough divorce, dating life like everyone else, going through all the apps and the challenges that come with dating with a disability, and you know found love again, and now a blended family.
Oh, that's beautiful. And you know what? It's as if the physical challenges aren't enough. Like dating now is really hard. So I can imagine that that was a roller coaster ride all in itself. Just like, who are these people? Did you date for a while, or did you meet your fiance that you have now fairly soon after divorce and all of that?
um I dated for quite a few years and had a serious relationship, kind of in between there. My current fiance, she was actually my first girlfriend in high school. So we've
Oh,
known each other for a very long time. We dated in high school, in college, and went our separate ways. She got married and had her kids. I got married and had my kids. Unfortunately, she lost her husband a few years ago, from a fall, just a kind of freak accident as well. And
oh my gosh.
he had passed away. I had had my injury, and we were like, we just really need to catch up. We hadn't seen each other in forever, and brunch went way better than it should have, where we saw each other, and I was like, that wasn't just, it didn't feel like we were meeting as friends, and kind of started
Oh.
talking again, and here we are for a third attempt.
The lover girl in me just I love a good love story. I just it's so beautiful. But so what about her do you think has inspired you the most? Because obviously you probably went into it with a lot of your own doubts just based on your condition and like where you were in your own journey and like, being a different completely different person than you were the first time you met her.
Yeah, it was nice in the sense that she knew who I was before my injury, so I knew, there wasn't nothing else to it. Like, I think sometimes when we're dating now, you don't always know someone's intention.
Mhm.
Knowing her as a person, from her being 14 into her 20s, her knowing me before my injury and after my injury, uh, I knew she wasn't talking to me out of curiosity. Like, she liked me because of the person I was before. She likes me because of the person I am now.
Yeah.
I knew her family, so I knew her upbringing, like just all those little things. There were a lot of conversations that we didn't need to have to get to a good point. And so
Yeah.
that just really made it easy.
That's so
And then,
true.
yeah, and then her going through her own stuff, like seeing her kind of come back from that, and trying to think about like everything she had went through and her rebuilding her life, and uh it sucks, but sometimes when other people are going through something and you have too, you almost kind of bond through that. And
Mhm.
so that I think that kind of played a part too. We both just had a gratitude for life that other people don't have unless they've gone through something hard.
That's so true, and it's really beautiful when you can see someone that's struggling rebuild themselves. It's inspiring for you, but also
Hmm.
to see the way that they could still continue to show up for you despite their own stuff. Like
Yeah.
that is true love, you know? That is truly love for someone to show up for you in the darkest season of your life and say, "You know what? I see your struggles. I see the challenges you have ahead of you, but I'm here anyway." Like
Hmm.
that's so beautiful.
Yeah. And it came at an awkward time too, because I'd lost a previous relationship and I was like, I'm not dating. I'm kind of just done with all this stuff. And then we had ran into each other and started talking. And I think I actually saw her on a dating app, and it was more of like, hey, I see you back to dating. And I was genuinely like happy for her because I knew about all this stuff before, and I was like happy that she was like taking care of herself and was able to like move on and thinking about all that stuff. And she had said she wanted to go on a date, and I was like, like, I cared about her as a person. Like I didn't want to date unless it was going to be something real and serious. Like I don't want to do this for fun. Like she has kids. I can't involve myself unless I'm going to be there. Like I'm just a committed person. So
Mhm.
I was very cautious at first, and she invited me on a couple of dates, which I bailed on. And I was
Oh.
like, she actually wants to like spend time together. And I was like,
Oh.
okay, well, if she sees that in me, then I can't say that I'm a burden to her or I'm protecting her from anything, and kind of threw myself out there, and it's just gone well since then.
Oh, I love that so much. I've seen the videos too, where you had like bits of her in there too, like helping you. And yeah, that really touched my heart too, to see the bond that you two have built over the years. Let's take a quick break for me to tell you about Simply Worth It, a clinic of trusted nurse practitioners who are focused on personal weight management, optimizing your health, and working with what your body needs to build confidence through safe and effective medical solutions. Simply Worth It is different than all the rest because they only hire nurse practitioners, not just medical assistants or nurses. With these skilled practitioners, they are able to provide a safer, more specialized service to get you to your specific goals. They have 3 locations that are going to serve you in Wentzville, St. Peters, and South County. Visit simplyworthit.com. That's simply worth it, WURTH it.com, to set up your new patient consultation today.
Yeah, she doesn't like social media as much, so I'm careful about what I share of her and her kids.
Yeah.
Whereas me, I'm just very out there and I blast everything,
Yeah.
most stuff's public. So I try to give her credit. I try to share stuff, but then I also have to respect her privacy and stuff too. So
Well, it's
she's
beautiful, and I'm
always
grateful
around.
you do. I'm grateful you do because I love seeing
Yeah, I know sometimes people are like, you don't share your partner, you don't share kids, and
it.
I never want to be that person, but I'm like, I also have to respect her privacy and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, not everyone's into it, and that's okay. That's okay.
yeah.
So you are one of the coolest things that I saw in one of your videos. You were on a treadmill, and you were just like going. You were going on the treadmill, and I was like, "How is that even possible?" But then you showed like the clip of you with. Was it like a breathing machine that you had attached in that video where they were holding you up? Like the team, your physical therapy team was like holding you up, like you couldn't walk yet. And then you went from that to it showed you literally running on a treadmill. And
Yeah, yeah, there's a couple. I think one where I had a breathing machine on, they were actually doing a research project at Colorado University called intermittent hypoxia.
uh
So they're actually reducing the amount of oxygen that you have to your body, and it spikes neurological response. So they're trying to see if by lowering the amount of oxygen you can breathe, if there's some type of benefit to it when you're walking. And
oh,
so I've been a part of quite a few studies, and I participate like in consulting for research now, and kind of serve as a guinea pig for some of the stuff too. There's been a few things where it's been rewarding for my own recovery, and then other times it's just so they can see if something's safe and effective. so they can continue research because I want people to do better than what I've had. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
trying to give back.
That's so good. What do your doctors say? Like the doctors that were with you from the beginning? Like what do they say about the progress that you've made?
Um, I mean, some of it's definitely credit to them. I mean, some of the research projects that I've been a part of, like their team's been great. I learned from them. I applied stuff at home, and then I know a lot of times they're like, "You are a very resilient and driven individual." So, I mean, I think if I went home, even with the stuff that they did, I wouldn't be where I am today. But their knowledge and help, and then my stubbornness at home and routines at home to keep trying and keep working are definitely the reason why I'm at where I am
I
now.
I personally don't think you give yourself enough credit. I'm just going to start there. You do not give yourself enough credit at all. Like I genuinely from the outside looking in, like you're a hero. Like you are genuinely a hero, and I know that's probably hard to hear and you're like, "Oh, stop, whatever." But seriously, you the mental resilience that you've had to have, the physical resilience that you've had to have, the cutting away, chipping away at the daily grinds of things that most people just get so bored with they give up, right? Like you have overcome so many things mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Like I don't think you have any idea how incredible you are. So I'm just saying it right now. Like you are incredible. You are truly an amazing example of resilience and strength. Like and you should carry that and hold that so close to your heart because you're making a difference. You are truly inspiring people.
Well, and I do appreciate it. I think for me, the hard part that I've had accepting it sometimes is I was always this person before my injury.
Mhm.
But I think, I mean, just anyone, man, woman, people living their day-to-day lives, like sometimes we're struggling and fighting through stuff and
Mhm.
we're not getting that credit for it. Like I had a lot of these routines before my injury and I was athletic before. So a lot of people were like, you're athletically gifted and, you're doing this and doing that. And it was almost just projected. Like you should be doing that because
Mhm.
you're athletic. You should be able to do that. And I mean, now it's the exact same habits that I did before, the exact same things that I was doing as a father before, but now I get credit because people can visually see, the struggle. um, I mean, there were things that I struggled with before my injury, and there's things that I struggle with now. And
Yeah.
sometimes I feel like I only get credit for it now because it's such a physical thing, and people have a hard time putting themselves in those shoes, and they're like, I wouldn't be able to do that. But a lot of people are doing it. It's just not a physical battle. It's emotional, it's mental, and they're fighting through different things at home every day. So
Right.
I always appreciate the compliments, and at the same time, it's hard to take them because I know a lot of other people are doing the exact same stuff just in different ways.
Well, it takes mental resilience to just have the discipline no matter what, whether you have been injured or you haven't been injured. That is absolutely a truth. Everyone has their struggles, right? But it
Um,
takes true courage to keep going and do it, even when you have lost all of the just natural abilities that you had before, right?
yeah.
And so I think, not to dismiss it, but I could see why it's easy for people to cheer you on now more than before because it's like there's a difference in having every physical ability, right? It's
Yeah.
different when you fight for it, when you have fought to regain it, and that is like a warrior, like that is a true warrior.
Yeah. I'm glad it has like an impact now and more meaning and purpose. And I'm still learning to accept everything that other people see and sometimes the compliments that I get. Like I'm getting better with it, but I know it's one thing that I've kind of still struggle with to this day.
That's okay. That's okay. If you could go back to yourself day one of injury when you're like your whole world's been just completely thrown for a loop and where you are now, what would you tell yourself?
Um, be patient. I mean, and I tell that to a lot of people that are newly injured because it is absolutely devastating. It is not a quick injury, but uh, life does continue on, whether we like it or not. The way we work through it will make life easier or harder. Um, so, I mean, you really have to learn how to start managing things mentally and emotionally. understand it's like a long process, but it is going to get better no matter how bad it seems now.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we get down on ourselves, and uh, I will give myself credit for not quitting because I know if I would have quit, I wouldn't be walking, I wouldn't be driving, I wouldn't be spending time with my kids. Um, Things would be a lot harder today.
Yeah.
So I am grateful that I didn't quit, and I did kind of put in my own mind like I'm gonna go all out and try my hardest for a year and just see what happens because I don't want to be 10 years down the road and wonder what if.
Yeah.
Um, because it did pay off and that was needed, and setting a longer time frame for myself, and then once the ball got rolling, it was easier to keep it rolling. But that initial part of just setting your mind to something and just trying and not getting anything in return and making that agreement and sticking to it saved my tail.
That's right.
Uh,
That's right. I mean, when we get to the end of our lives, we're not going to regret the things that we did, even if we failed. We're going to regret the things that we didn't even try, you know? And so you making that choice literally changed the trajectory of your entire life. You can now go throughout your life, and one day you're not going to look back with regret. You're not. You're going to be able to say, yeah, I gave it everything that I had.
yeah, because I know now, like if and it is kind of scary sometimes. It's just a realistic thought. Like, I mean, I never know when will be the last year that I can mow the lawn, when's going to be the last time that I get to walk up the street. And I mean, I've progressed and I hope I continue to progress, but I know there's going to be a cliff at some point. But I know if something bad were to happen, like I know I worked hard and I know this is the best that I had to offer instead of laying in bed and looking out my window and wondering like what if I did therapy that year? What if I tried harder that
Yeah.
year? What if I, kept working out or did something? Like I don't have those questions, and it gives me a lot of peace. It makes things a lot easier dealing with this injury even when I'm struggling day to day. It's like this is the best I got. So, I'm good with that.
Yeah. You can live with that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, if you could give, like, just based on all the content that you've put out there, just your own story, your experience, your progress, where you are now, if there was one message that you would hope to give to the world through your story, what would it be?
That's tough. I guess it's, that life is going to continue to happen no matter what changes around us. So, just trying to make the best of what you're given. I think sometimes we set expectations like we're supposed to have this job, we're supposed to be at this point in a relationship, we're supposed to have, kids, we're supposed to have more money. Like expectations are so tough, but I mean, if you just put forth your best effort with what you have in front of you, most of the time things are going to improve. And even if they don't improve, at least it gives you some type of peace. Um,
Amen.
And so, I mean, just doing your best with what you have. Uh,
That's so good.
might not always feel like what you want, but
Yeah.
there's the mental aspect, and mental peace is the biggest part, but things do tend to get better when you're trying your best.
That's so true. Being able to just say, you know what, this moment right here in front of me, as long as I am my most authentic self and I
Yes.
remain, and I cling to the hope that I have, this is the best there is. This is the best there is and the best I can do right now. Yeah, I agree with
Yeah.
that.
So it gets so easy to start throwing out complaints and blaming, and maybe I didn't have this insurance, or I didn't have more resources, or if my relationship was better, or if I mean, there's too many what ifs, and I just don't like playing the what if game. So it's like, this is what I have, and this is where I'm at now, and here's what I can do with it, and having peace with that.
Yeah. I say I've said this before too on my show. Just as I was a victim of abuse and sexual assault at earlier in my life, which is a totally different thing, but a victim nonetheless. You're obviously were a victim to an injury, and what I hope people will always get from it is that just because you were a victim doesn't mean you have to stay one forever. Like, yes,
Hmm.
you were a victim, but you can become a victor now. It's all about here. It's about what you decide. Do I want to stay here forever, focused on what happened to me, or do I want to keep building a life that leads to some victory and where I'm going, you know?
Hmm. And I did go through some similar stuff. Like it was a separate part of my injury that was really hard to work through because especially being a guy, I think sometimes you're in rough relationships and you're dealing with like a lot of back and forth and arguments, and guys are expected to be bigger and stronger. And after my injury, a lot of those tendencies still continued. And that was like one of the first times I think that I got a taste of what some women go through in relationships. Like
Mm.
there were issues where it was really controlling and I couldn't get up and leave. I couldn't go do anything. There were injuries or risks of injuries, and I had never been in that position before. And that was really tough to deal with, especially as a guy, and like turning to get help and trying to figure out what to do and just working through that. Like, and I didn't want to be in the situation where I was just blaming someone else or feeling trapped or feeling like I couldn't do something. And I had to like start talking about it. I had to confront the issue and deal with it. And ultimately, give an ultimatum, like it either changes or it needs to end and move on from it. And that's really tough to do sometimes, and especially when you're at risk of losing what you feel like is a family or, comfort, or you're feeling trapped because, especially for me at that point in time, like I used to be the one working and now I'm the one that's not working. So, say if there's a woman and her husband's working and she's a stay-at-home mom, like, standing up for yourself and fighting through those situations, like you could be at risk of losing, your home. Like, where do you
Mhm.
go? What do you
Mhm.
do? Like, how, and you start thinking through those things, and it sucks, and you have to make some tough decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. So you were in an abusive relationship.
Yeah, that's ultimately what ended up ending it. It was going on before my injury, and like I said, I could leave then. I could, say I'm not dealing with it. I could stay at a friend's house, and after my injury, I was like, this is actually serious now. Like I can get hurt. Like I'm going to end up in the hospital. I can't leave. I can't get to my phone, and it just wasn't okay anymore.
Oh my gosh. I That is such a helpless feeling to feel
Yeah.
like you're at someone's, mercy, and you know that they can hurt you and there's nothing you can do. And that, I mean, yes, that's ultimately the story of almost every victim in an abusive relationship, especially when there's a major power dynamic, right? Like
Yeah.
when one person has the physical capability of really harming the other and the other really doesn't, you know?
Yeah. And it was eye-opening for me because it was, somewhat arrogant. Before my injury, I was like, I wasn't worried about someone hurting me. Like I was a
Yeah.
very strong and in shape guy and stuff. And I was like, I allowed a lot of things to happen and continue, but the injury really shift the dynamics of the relationship where, now all of a sudden I am the weaker individual. Now all of a sudden I'm not the one earning the income, and just how the other person treated it, like when that shifted, it was a lot to work through and think about and really open my eyes to what some other people are going through.
And I can't imagine too, because mental abuse is almost just as painful as physical abuse,
Yeah.
but especially when you're in a helpless position where it's like, I can't, there's nothing I can do to change this situation. Like, and so
Hmm.
a person using that against you is so painful and hard to like mentally overcome.
Yeah, the thing that was easier for me is just I had such I guess, a hard before and after, like before injury and after injury.
Yeah.
It was really easy to spot things like, I think sometimes we're like, well, what could I do differently? Or we blame ourselves, or there's a lot to work through where I was like, well, this is what it was before, and this is what's going on now. Like, I definitely don't deserve this right now. Like, this shouldn't be happening at all. Like, there's no excuse for it.
Yeah.
And so, like, having that, difference between the two, or the comparison between the two, like helped me be able to like move on from it and deal with it and address it, I think, in a different way than someone that's just kind of stuck or trapped
Hmm.
and, has to work up to either a breaking point or an area where they can actually make a change. It's, definitely a lot different, but it allowed me to like understand a lot more.
Yeah. So at what point did you find was enough enough? What made you decide to finally like go, okay, enough's enough. I'm leaving. I'm gone.
There were a few arrests before that she had went through, and It was just a really rough relationship. But there were a couple of incidents before leading up to the last one where I had had like a couple of injuries, and it was getting into like suffocating and like other things where it was becoming concerning, like for my safety. And so the last one, and she ended up like trying to choke and suffocate and kicked me on the ground and ended up calling the police. And I was like, that's enough. Like our kids had came in and seen it, and they were 1 and 3 at the time. And I was like, the kids are either going to lose one of their parents or they're going to lose both of their parents. Like if something bad actually happens. And I was like, it's just too much. And I had told her to either get help or get a divorce. And she filed for divorce.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I can't first of all, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you went through that and that happened to you. Like I get it. I've literally been there. And it is a really difficult and emotional and just all around heartbreaking place to be. And
Yeah.
we don't hear it from the other side almost ever. Men almost never speak about experiences like this because so it's almost even hard to hear because it's like to realize that there are women capable of this kind of abuse as well is really sad and scary and not talked enough about.
Well, that was the hard part is I think there are men that are in relationships like that. And it's like, if the woman can't physically hurt them, there's not that imminent danger. Like,
Right.
and especially some men, if they interact or if a woman's hitting, throwing stuff or breaking something, if he were to engage and grab her or stop her or do anything else, he is now the aggressor and he is now the one that's going to get arrested. And that is a scary situation for men in general.
Yeah.
There's definitely the ones that are at fault of doing a lot of stuff, and there are good guys out there that are in those relationships. And I think sometimes it gets kind of normalized. And like for me, I didn't think a whole lot of it until now I'm in a vulnerable position where I can't protect myself.
Yeah.
And that was like such a different thing. And I didn't think someone would do that to me in that position. And so
Yeah.
like having to realize that, and I was like, yeah, this isn't her just acting out. This is her behavior and it is wrong. And I'm not doing something that warrants her to be treating me in this manner or doing this like in my position. And that's where
Yeah.
I was like, this is too much. It just needs to stop.
Yeah. That's one of the hardest things in life is being faced with how dark a person can be, how capable and easy it is for a person that you trusted or loved and cared for to hurt you in that way. Like that's a really hard hitting reality. And it
Yeah.
takes a long time to really heal and recover from the thought that a person you once trusted could literally hurt you in such a way.
Yeah.
Um,
When it,
it's a
yeah. And I think for a lot of people, like if you're in one of those relationships, like I was usually getting blamed for a lot of stuff before my injury.
Mhm.
But then after my injury, like being in such a low position of function, like, I'm not going out, I'm not going to work, like I am dependent on other people's care. And a lot of her family members were like helping with like my care and stuff like that. So I was like, I don't have friends. I'm not going out. There's no worry, concern, there's no threats, there wasn't financial issues, there was no cheating, like there was nothing that would normally cause like big arguments and fights in other people's relationships. Like she didn't have that to like treat me like that way. Like, I'm at home literally in a bed. Like I had to have people like, drain a catheter bag like for me to go to. I literally wasn't going to the bathroom without being, watched and observed. So it was just it really made me like think like what is it that you are responding to like or why is it that you're like acting that way like
oof.
there wasn't the excuses for the arguments anymore. And so I was like I always was trying to fix things like early in the relationship, and it just got bad enough to a point where I was like there's nothing that I can fix. Like I am
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am a heavily monitored individual. Like
Yeah.
I can't find the excuses for you anymore for to justify you being upset and reacting that way.
That's right. And unfortunately, an abuser is an abuser. And none of
Yeah.
what they do has anything to do with you. It is a pattern. It is a behavior that they carry, and you can do everything right, as you know now, or nothing wrong, for that matter, and they are still an abuser. They're still an
Yeah,
abuser because that's who they are.
and it took me years to figure that out. Like she had a prior arrest in a different relationship, was arrested in my relationship, and then has gone through another arrest in a different relationship. So I'm like, three different guys, three very different people, same pattern of behavior. I was like, this just is not, it's not going to change.
Well, I'm proud of you for leaving, and I'm really
This,
grateful
yeah,
for you that you were able to not just give up on love entirely, and you found somebody that was the complete opposite of that.
yeah. I wish I could take credit, but I'm just one of those hard-headed people the same way. Like I've stuck to things like in my own recovery. I probably would have kept working on things if there was hope in that it was going to improve, but giving the ultimatum and then her filing for divorce was probably a very good thing for me because I probably would have kept working on things or trying to see the best in someone. And it's something that I've had to work through with myself, just not always seeing the best in someone. Sometimes
Yeah.
just believing what people show you is
Mm.
a hard thing to do.
Oh, preach. Yeah, preach. It sure is. But you know what? I'm learning as I get older that that doesn't make something wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with you being empathetic and loving and wanting to see the good in a person. That's actually a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And it really truly is the balance of learning that you can see the best in someone and you can look for the good, but you can also see the reality and see the
Yeah,
bad, and then make the choices that are right for you to keep yourself safe mentally, emotionally, or physically.
yeah. It's a tough thing to do, and I've worked on
Yes,
it a lot, still working through it now for, you know, physical, mental, emotional reasons. Like there's so many things and it's kind of never ending. It's a lifelong project.
it sure is. All of it. Every part of it is a lifelong project, and that's okay. But your story is certainly one worth knowing, and it is super inspiring to me, and it will be super inspiring to my viewers, and even just your story of overcoming the abuse. That's really huge, and at such a pivotal time in your life. That's another thing that you should feel really, really, really proud of and give yourself credit for, because it takes a lot of strength, a lot of inner strength and resilience to do what you've done in every aspect, and to be where you are today, and to then tell your story, because that's
Yeah.
another level. That's another layer of being willing to put yourself out there, whether you're perfect or not, and just say, here's my story and I hope it helps someone. That's the whole point, and you're doing it, and I'm really honored to have seen your story and come across your story and get to talk to you today.
Thank you. You know, I don't always like talking about it 'cause sometimes it's like sharing something negative about someone else, but I know other people that have been injured, and especially when you're going through something like being paralysis, it's not just losing like a loved one. Like these people are physically like supporting you, financially supporting you, so you're losing a caregiver, you're losing a home. Like there's a lot of risk to being able to like speak up and do stuff. And like I mean the same way I'm sure a lot of women feel like in relationships with men, like if someone's paralyzed or has a disability, male or female, like it is a tough thing working through, abusive relationships. And sometimes it's their own family members.
Yeah,
It's not just like a loved one. And it's like you still have to find ways to take care of yourself and advocate for your own well-being. And it might be hard until it gets better, but it's just something you have to do.
you do. Yeah, I agree. You have to learn to love and honor yourself as much as you love and honor other people. And
Hmm.
especially when it comes to your safety and your well-being.
Yeah. And with the disability stuff, it's like it's scary because you don't know if you're gonna find someone else again. So, and you don't know if there's someone else that you can turn to, like if it's a family member that's taking advantage of something or getting irritated with caring for you. And so I'm glad I'm at a place where I am now, where it's like, I was able to leave a relationship, and I know dating's possible now with a
Yeah,
disability. I know I can move on, or other people can move on. Like you don't have to feel like you're not worth having a relationship with. You don't feel like you're going to be a burden to other family members or friends. And,
amen.
and it, it was tough, but I'm glad I'm at a point now where I can like see it was worthwhile and know I made the right decisions.
Yeah, amen. And look at you. You're living, you're engaged, you have a family, you are doing your best. You're getting up every day. You're still going. You're creating messages to inspire other people. Like you've come a long way. You've come a really long way.
And now I added three more kids to the mix. So trying
What?
to well,
What?
she has three and I have two, so now it's like
Okay.
five kids.
So
It's a
full-time
position.
dad.
Yeah, it's a position I didn't think I would be in, but it's really rewarding being in a good relationship, being busy with all of the good stuff and the sports and the activities. And her family's just absolutely amazing. Like the support
Oh,
that they give her and her kids, and then me by extension of that, and even my kids. And it's so good to like know that there's, good people out there and good relationships out there and that you can build from
yeah.
everything that you were scared of losing in the past. And for her, just the same. Like I know she's talked to me about it before. Like she was worried about finding someone again, and she was
Oh,
worried about someone taking on her and three kids. And I think sometimes, men and women both feel in relationships when you're divorced or getting out of something and you have kids or what you feel like is baggage. It's like we all have stuff at, this age that we're
yeah.
going through and dealing with. And
Yeah.
there are good people out there that don't see it as baggage. They
Yeah.
see it as fun. They see it as like something good. And
Well, the right person will. The right
yeah,
person for you will.
definitely.
Yeah, and it's a good hopeful message to end things on because that's so many of us, me included. Like I really struggle. Like I'm divorced and I'm a mom, and there are days where I think, is there a person out there for me? And then there are days where it's like maybe I don't need a person at all, and then there are days where it's like I have too much baggage for somebody anyway. And so I go back and forth with all of the things, every day. But I think there's beauty in just getting refocused on your life and making your life as good as you can for yourself and trusting that when the right person finds you, you'll know.
Yeah, if you're not ready yourself, then you got to work on yourself first, and then
Yeah.
someone will definitely fall into place. But if you're always chasing something, then that's where it
Yeah.
drags out longer than it should.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time today and for coming on the show. Um, I am again just super inspired by you and so grateful for people like you who are putting themselves out there to show people that through grit and strength and resilience that you can live a good life, and it may not be easy every day. It's going to be really hard. Life is hard, but you don't have to give up on yourself. You could keep going. You can keep taking the next step, and you can end up it's such a better place by just never giving up. So thank
Yeah.
you so much. If there's anything I can do for you or anything I can share for you or anything to help you get your message out there, absolutely reach out. Don't hesitate. But until then, thank you again. And I'm really proud of you and who you are and very inspired by you.
Well, thank you as well, and thanks for inviting me. I mean, you share so many great messages and stories, and just having a platform to help other people and stuff like that. It's been nice for me to see, and it's been encouraging for me to see, and um, I'm sure there's going to be more to come from it. I mean, you have a lot of good stuff out there, so I'm like, oh, I didn't think of that. Like, and I see stuff day after day, and I'm like, okay, I need to work on this for myself, and I need to do this for
Oh,
myself. So
thank
it's good that
you.
you're putting it out there.
Thank you. And I'm just like you. I kind of sometimes feel like I'm just doing it. I'm just doing it. It's whatever. Like I probably don't give myself enough credit either, but maybe that's okay. Maybe it's good to be humble and to just try anyway.
Definitely encourage people to like talk and find more of themselves. That's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the whole point, I think.